right, what's up, Tampa? It's June 5th. For those of you just joining us, welcome to Tampa Talk. I'm John.
And I'm Monica. Thanks for joining us.
Monica is super excited to have you here with us this week. So if you're wondering where Dahlia is, don't worry. She hasn't quit. I think she told you guys on the last episode she's going to be gone for a few weeks. She's actually away getting married.
Yay!
But we're super excited to have Monica with us, jumping in to help us keep our fingers on the pulse of what's going on around Tampa.
Yes, that is correct. I won't be taking Dahlia's seat forever, but I am more than happy to be here throughout June while she is away. So congrats to Dahlia and her husband and her family. And for those that don't know me, my name is Monica Petrella, and I have the pleasure of working with John and Dahlia and the rest of the WellBuilt team through our partnership program called Homegrown Hillsborough.
And we'll see if you do really good. Maybe you will take her role forever. But why don't you give us a little preview of what we're talking about this week?
Sure. So this week we have major transit changes coming to HART. We have 2 separate law enforcement DUI arrests, a controversial update at City Council, a troubling incident at USF, and the future of Ybor's music scene, and some good news about free summer meals for kids.
It's always good to have a little good news peppered in these days. Yeah. Well, we like to do this week in the work. Dahlia and I usually kind of like reflect on what's going on this week. And so I'll just tell you like something that I particularly, the drop has been a lot of what's taken my time and attention lately. But this week in particular, on Tuesday, it was like I will say Tuesday is actually one of the harder days because we're actually closed Sunday and Monday. So we have Saturday, but that's like the bigger gap. And Tuesdays is like a busy day there at the drop. This Tuesday was like one of the best days ever. It was cool, peaceful. Actually, the weather was a little cooler. I noticed it was a little bit nicer. Yeah. But we actually had, and you guys may have seen this in the news, not that they were with us, but the Miles bus, which is like the Hillsborough County tax collector or whatever, has basically like a mobile DMV thing now where they were actually able to come out. It's a beautiful bus set up on site, and a bunch of our friends that are on the streets that do not have lost their ID or do not have their ID were able to go and get a state issued ID, and it was printed and in their hands when they came off the bus. I think we did maybe 14 of them with them on Tuesday. But then at the same time, in another area of the building, we had also Hillsborough County came out we had some folks there that are getting people onboarded to the Hillsborough County health insurance, which is just incredible that I think maybe 7 of them got onboarded, but both of those partners are now saying, hey, we're going to be here every Tuesday for a season until we kind of saturate the people that are here and kind of get everybody onboarded to that. But overall, I think Dahlia likes to theme these. So I would say, well, thematically, I would think like, The line that comes to mind is like many hands make the work light, but like partnership, like I can't get you an ID. I can't do health insurance.
Yeah.
I'm so many things that I'm not.
Yeah, well, this just came across my mind. It's your local government at work. That is what is happening. Yeah, and so both of those examples is your local government at work. And, you can't get somebody an ID, but you can get your local government to come out to your site and do what they are supposed to and usually enjoy doing, which is providing services for the public. And actually maybe a little bit relates to my week in the work as well. So we just sent out a newsletter for Homegrown Hillsborough today. If you're not on the newsletter, you can join by going to www.homegrownhillsborough.com and scrolling down to the bottom where it says sign up for the newsletter. And so we just announced some pretty cool programs that we are debuting. And so one is called Summer School. And so if you are a nonprofit and you are interested in taking your idea to life, or if you're an existing nonprofit. So I guess if you're a wannabe or an actual nonprofit, we are partnering with the Nonprofit Leadership Center to provide 2 4-hour training sessions on nonprofit financial management. And if we all need. Well, a lot of people that are in the nonprofit space, they got in the space to do good work, not to administer a nonprofit. But the administration part is key. And if you don't want your life to just be putting out fires on your administration side, then you need to have a really strong foundation. So that way you can spend most of your time doing the good work and less time trying to find that invoice in the system. So that way you can accurately report it for your audit or whatever that is. So that's one of our programs. We also are looking for partners for our emerging professional program. So if you are in the food system space and you want to have an intern next fall and spring, one intern for both semesters, you can apply to be a host site or a mentor site. And then lastly, we have a program called Cultivate Your Brand, which is in partnership with a woman that has a marketing agency, and she's going to talk to food system stakeholders about how they can ultimately communicate the work they do in order to increase revenue or donors or whatever that is. So those partnerships, your local government at work, trying to make sure that your dreams can come to fruition.
I love it. As you were talking about, even just, I don't know, as you were talking through that, and like, I was going to shout out so the Portico is a church downtown. It's is connected with the United Methodist Church. They have a cool coffee shop, but their Sunday mornings, they have a service they call the 10:01 service, which I think is really clever because their address is 10:01 Florida.
Oh, cute.
And they start the service at 10:01.
Oh.
But it's mostly folks from the street. So a lot. So I like going there on Sunday mornings because there's so many people that hang out around the drop. And they sit around tables. But then also you have just a bunch, like there's some city council people that go, or there's some local leaders that go. So it's like a really diverse group of folks, but because they do this big outreach kind of breakfast in the morning. And then after breakfast, some people will stay for this service. It is like it's largely made up of folks that are on the streets. It's a really beautiful service that they do there at 10:01 if you guys want to check that out. But on this coming Sunday, so in a couple days, that Miles bus, they told me that they're going to go there. And then they've also called out the supervisor of elections is coming out because they want to make sure that everyone, so I guess you need that ID to be able to register to vote and whatever. And so they're going to bring both of those out there. So if this is something, if you need an ID or you need to get registered, Sunday morning, 10:01, they're going to have both of those set up at the Portico. So a great service, but they're going to have also those services there as well. So
great. Your local government at work, baby.
Kind of cool. What's going on in history this week?
So this week in Tampa history, on June 11th, 1945, the Florida legislature established the Hillsborough County Port Authority, which created the governing body that would eventually become Port Tampa Bay.
I mean, it is hard to overstate how important the port has been to Tampa's growth. I mean, it's centrally important to who we are and what we've been able to do here. For sure.
Its roots go all the way back actually to the cattle trade with Cuba in the 1880s. And it's definitely a huge part of our economic engine and honestly just our culture.
Yeah, the cattle trade actually is. I mean, that's the entire origin story. If you go back to the beginning of the city of Tampa and the Tampa families that ran it, they're all just cattle farmers. It's like 4 families and they all raise cattle because they can move them through this. Exactly.
Yep.
Teddy Roosevelt launched the Rough Riders from Tampa during the Spanish-American War.
Yeah, which is why you see them in the Gasparilla Parade. And during World War II, the port played a really important role in military shipbuilding.
So today it's one of the most diverse ports in the country, handling everything from cruise ships to fuel to container cargo.
Yep. And then in 1963, they changed the name from the Hillsborough County Port Authority to the Tampa Port Authority because somebody thought that it was a little easier to sell, a little more of a confined name. And I think it actually is more in line with other ports across the state and nation. So there are Port Tampa Bay, Port Everglades, I think Port St. Joe, although I don't know if that's actually a real port. Although I don't know if, I think that generally Port Jacks or Jacksonville Port, I don't know. Yeah.
You've got some familiarity with the port.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I do have some familiarity with the port. My husband is a harbor pilot, and so we love ships. And I grew up in inland Florida, so I didn't know anything about ports or ships, but I know a whole lot now.
Yeah, you do.
And they're pretty cool. It's actually, just before we move on, ports kind of get a bad rep for sometimes environmentalists are ports, but it's actually the most efficient way to transit a bunch of stuff, basically. So if you were to have the equivalent of all that stuff onto trains or semis and getting it all around the nation and the world, then it would be much more expensive. Obviously, air travel is incredibly expensive and incredibly emission heavy. And so, you know, I am an environmentalist, so we should reduce, reuse, recycle. But as long as we're still shipping mass quantity of things throughout the world, ships are actually the most efficient way to do that.
Well, you guys took us on a little port tour down there, and I was really excited to kind of get to see all of that. So recently we added a little segment to the show as we go through before we kind of get into some of the headline news stuff is we've been kind of doing a city council spotlight. Now, for those of you listening, we are recording a little early this week. And so city council has yet to meet. So, you know, so I'm going to say, like, but by the time this comes out, it will have met. So we'll have to follow up next week on some of these things. But as we are coming into this, we're going, they have a monster agenda this week. Yeah.
I think 65 agenda items.
And like 54 of those are actually going to require a vote.
Yeah. And so it's things that are ranging from a $2,000 grant for parks all the way up to a $12 million budget realignment, which has already been approved by the CRA board.
Over $1 million for a new Tampa fire rescue pumper truck.
$6.5 million for wastewater biosolid transportation and disposal.
So these things may not sound exciting, but these are literally the pieces that keep the infrastructure, that keep the city functioning. And this is what they'll be discussing at city council.
Yeah. And one of the items that's more likely to generate discussion is the updated list of schools that will receive the city's controversial red speed school zone cameras, which I actually kind of have thoughts about.
You want to tell me?
I don't like the security state, but it's kind of here and it's a little bit out of our hands. If we are going to have a security state and cameras filming everything, I do want immediate retribution for cars, for traffic. I think it takes away a lot of the bias. I think it takes away a lot of, discrimination, bias. You got away with it this time, so you can do it next time. And so to me, putting like immediate traffic violations in school zones is like a no-brainer because I want anyone to know that if they are speeding in a school zone, they will be getting a ticket sent to their house. And I actually saw that in Miami-Dade. It has generated like millions of dollars that they then reinvest into better infrastructure for safe walking and biking and things like that. And it's pretty sad to think that in such a little time with Miami-Dade, they generated so much revenue, but it goes to speak about how many people are being reckless in school zones. And of course, not just school zones. I would like it to, I want safe streets citywide, but school zones, I think, is something we can all get behind.
Yeah, and they already did this. So this is specifically around the schools. And I think council is expected to approve like 18 different school locations for this. But they have already rolled out the bus cameras that are like, the stop sign that comes out on the bus. They've been doing that where they're ticketing through cameras through the buses as well. Yeah.
So,
So I do think there's one other thing we want to like, and this I think is a big deal. If you've ever... I think, we don't always have the opportunity or maybe the agenda item that you're passionate about, but there is a forum for public comment at these city council meetings. They're open to the public. And so there are some considerations, and I think they're coming up this week in city council to change some of the procedures around public comment. These will include things like separating out agenda item comments from general public comments. But then also some updates around like conduct and dress code and language.
Yeah, and I do think that's really important. I am always for making it as easy as possible to communicate with your elected officials. But I had the pleasure of being a legislative aide to a county commissioner. And so when you do that, you watch all the meetings and you can see that there are some bad actors in public comment that are really just trying to be obstructionists, or I don't know, they just have something, that's what they enjoy doing on, BOCC Wednesdays, going and making a scene. And I know that the city council has experienced some harassment and some issues, but because of First Amendment, it is really hard to kind of rein those things in, but ultimately it is destructive and it's dangerous and it's scary. And I've talked to city council people that don't want to restrict public comment. They want to hear from constituents. But like I said, one bad apple spoils the bunch. And so I think things that like, little things like maybe having the dress code could alleviate some small things. And what I think it's alluding to is wearing shirts that are like threatening, or I think it's not a suit and tie. It's not you don't have to come in as a business professional, but really just making sure that your appearance isn't supposed to be threatening.
It will be interesting to hear what they are, though, because I do know a lot of interest groups that will go in mass on a topic will often wear like the same t-shirt.
And I think that is
because you want to visibly see, look at all the purple.
And that stuff is good. Yeah.
And if they were to say you can't do that, that would be problematic.
Yeah.
If it was a way that eliminated people based on class or something, that would be problematic. I do know, like for me, more than the county commission, I've been more with city council. I used to go almost every week back in the day because of some of the stuff that was going on with the homeless here in the city. And I've sat through tons and tons of public comment. I totally get, like, I've been like, oh, I've watched some really bad behavior in these forums. But I also think like it's a pretty cool thing that exists.
I love public comment. Listen, I love public comment. Yeah.
And it's 3 minutes. Like it is reined in.
Yep.
You're going to have to do this.
Yep.
You can't do X, Y, and Z. They will shut it down.
Yep.
It does. So I wonder what the changes will be. I am interested in it, but I am a fan of it. I will tell you one thing that I am bothered by though, when I'm sitting in public comment is, and I could imagine how hard it is to sit and listen to these, but when you see during public comment, all the councilmen and women or the commissioners like in and out of the room and turn around having side meetings. And I'm like, well, they are not here. That's not always the case, but it is an infuriating thing to see.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love public comment. It's a huge part of just how local government works and how elected officials know what response looks like. I think it's totally fair game to show up in your coordinated purple shirts and have them look out in the audience and say, wow, these people are organized and mobilized.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
Even if you're like the person who's like, I don't have it in me to get up and speak,
but I'm
I can
with
sit
them.
here in purple.
Yeah, exactly. No, and it's a good it's a way for elected officials to see like, oh, this is more than one person. This is more than one, crank, if they wanted to call it that. But no, I think that there have been maybe some slurs that have been on clothing before and some really disrespectful stuff. So I think that's probably the route they're going, but we'll see. And if it does crank down on the ability for the public to communicate, important, effective messaging, then I won't be loving that. But I will say also that the city is a year away from elections. And so these big votes, these big high dollar items, if constituents care, they should be paying attention to them. And maybe next week we can give an update, or we'll see what kind of like coverage comes out of that. But this is at least 2 city council members have filed to run for mayor.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you can track these city council people and their votes and kind of follow that thread through their campaign and see, they might say something but vote a different way. And so, these votes are really important, and especially in light of an upcoming election in which 2 city council members are trying to seek higher office. Actually 3, because one of them,
Vieira's going to state,
exactly. Yeah.
So, hey, if you ride the buses, if you ride HART, you might want to pay attention.
Yep. So service changes begin June 7th after a year-long review of routes, ridership, and community needs.
So the biggest positive change is Route 38 in Brandon, it will go from hourly service to every 30 minutes on weekdays.
Meanwhile, unfortunately, some express routes are being discontinued, including routes 24LX, Route 25LX, and HART Flex South County. And that's a big bummer. I'd never like to see routes get discontinued.
And I think more and more with HART seems as if there's been some struggle going on.
HART is the most underfunded transit agency in the nation.
Yeah. There's been some challenges for sure. There are also some scheduled adjustments affecting more than a dozen routes kind of throughout the county.
Yep. So transit, not always exciting, but if your daily commute depends on it, then it's a big deal. And if we want to live in a world where we're all taking more transit, then we should be having ridership and services increase and not decrease.
So it was a rough week for local law enforcement. And by the way, I just want to say it was a rough week. It's been a lot of rough weeks lately, like one after the next. But here we go again.
Yeah.
Let's rattle them off.
Yeah. So first, an off-duty Tampa police officer was arrested after deputies said that he was driving over 100 miles per hour on I-75 while weaving through traffic.
So that's Officer Jason Brown, and he's currently under administrative review.
Yeah, which, that's deserved. And then a Hillsborough County deputy was arrested for a DUI following a traffic stop in Citrus Park.
So deputies say Richard Garcia showed signs of impairment and refused the field sobriety test or giving breath samples.
So he has also been placed on administrative leave, but without pay, and is pending an investigation.
So 2 separate agencies, 2 separate incidents, same week. By the way, the refusal of a field sobriety test or a breath sample is your right to do when you are pulled over. He is going to be on administrative leave, but also just as any citizen would be, you will, while you may be able to avoid a DUI charge, you will lose your license for the year for that refusal. Just like, so that in addition to this administrative leave, he will also be not driving around.
Not driving around for a year. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And some other unfortunate news, a double stabbing at USF. So deputies are also investigating a double stabbing involving 2 USF students at an apartment complex near campus.
Yeah, so incident happened around 4:30 in the morning at Halo 46 Apartments.
And the authorities say that the suspect and one of the victims were roommates. So that's always really unfortunate when it's someone that you thought you trusted and could feel comfortable with.
Terrible. It's terrible. And we had like recently an awful USF story. Like when I first saw this, I was like, did we repeat something? No, we just.
I kind of thought the same thing. Yeah.
So in this case, thankfully, everyone survived. And investigator said that like all parties have been identified. They're accounted for. And
yeah, USF has had a little bit of a hard time this last few months with the tragic death of those students, the marine biology lab burning down. I think there was another one, and then obviously this too. So really hope that like maybe the summertime can provide some healing and restoration for the USF community, and when they come back into the fall, they can hopefully brighter fields ahead.
So a hiring decision by Hillsborough County Schools is getting some attention this week.
Yeah, so it seems that Anthony Collins, a former chief deputy at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office who resigned during an academic cheating investigation, has been hired as the district's new chief of security and emergency management.
This is great. The position oversees school security, emergency preparedness, crisis response, and threat assessment.
Yeah, so some school leaders say that he has the law enforcement background, which makes him qualified, though the hiring's already generated some discussion given the circumstances around his departure. I know I saw the headlines. I didn't see the headlines about him being hired, but I saw and heard that, the news of the cheating investigation.
Oh, yeah, we went through that for
sure. So
it's
pretty fresh. It wasn't that long ago, so kind of crazy. So some other news in the area at Moffitt Cancer Center, a longtime research leader has stepped away from a key positioning following questions about image integrity in several older scientific papers.
So the concerns relate to work conducted years ago at a Texas Cancer Center and have already led to at least one retraction and an editorial warning in another publication.
Yeah, and so Moffitt says that reviews are ongoing, and that's really important. It always bums me out when credible institutions are manipulated or diluted in any way, because I think that it's kind of a crisis where nobody knows who to trust anymore.
Trust, yep, that's right.
And so, it is important that we keep the integrity high, and that we usually there are several backups on the backups to make sure that evidence-based research is authentic and not manipulated. And so, I don't know how this got flagged, but I'm glad it did. Yep. And I hope that it can be a pretty clean resolution, whatever that may look like. And hopefully the public will see that when bad actors occur, that there are mechanisms in place to make sure that we get back on the road to.
No, it is hearing something like this is helpful to go, hey, they're taking very seriously the integrity of the research that's coming out of this place.
Yeah. And so this is a sad one. It's kind of been in the news, I think, over the last few months, but Crowbar is closing, and this one's going to hurt a lot of music fans.
Yeah. So, been 20 plus years in Ybor City, this independent venue. I think many of us have had a lot of good nights at, but they will permanently close on July 31st.
Yeah, and owner Tom DeGeorge has pointed to changing economics in Ybor and increasing pressure from large national entertainment companies. So,
particularly as Live Nation prepares to build a much larger venue nearby.
Yeah, and it's an example of the tension between local independent businesses and the large national players. I also, like a few months ago, there were kind of two different articles about how Live Nation is looking at doing a venue, but then also the new Water Street is maybe going to have one, or somewhere else. It was like two.
Those are separate?
Maybe
I don't know.
We
might have to circle back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I definitely don't think we have room for two. Maybe we do.
I think that is the project. Okay. I could be wrong about that.
Okay.
And I know Tom DeGeorge would be a good person to ask because he's been all over, like kind of shaking his fist about what's going on with Live Nation preparing to build here as well.
All right. Well, I'll fact check myself and come better prepared.
We do this all the time. Yeah. Don't even sweat it. Don't even sweat it.
All right. So some good news. We'll end on a positive note.
Yeah. So Hillsborough County Public Schools have relaunched their free summer meal program.
Yeah, which means that any child 18 and under can receive meals at participating locations, regardless of enrollment status.
Don't need to register, don't need to be enrolled, anything, you just come on by.
And so they'll also offer things like weekly meal box pickups in Ruskin, where families can get 7 days worth of breakfasts and lunches, plus a gallon of milk.
It's kind of awesome.
It is really awesome. And I actually, I was at a event last week, and somebody, I want to say they were in Florida, was talking about how their county, and maybe they just didn't know about it, but that their county maybe didn't participate in the summer schools meal program. And I know our county fully participates in it. And we at Homegrown Hillsborough have been able to work with the district on some programs and initiatives, things like that. And so I'm very aware of how seriously they take this because of the reason that the way that Ariane Corbett, who kind of leads the nutrition for the Hillsborough County School District, she says that the school district is the largest restaurant in the county, and that the amount of meals that they provide, the customers that they have, they're one of the biggest procurement agencies of fruits and vegetables, and that's really serious work. And so I kind of maybe thought that all other counties had an area at Corbett of their own, but they maybe don't. And I think smaller counties, especially with the administration aspect of it. So really fortunate that we do have those programs, and would love to live in a world where we don't necessarily need them, but as long as they are needed, I hope we can provide them.
Yeah, it's a major asset. I mean, so many young people are counting on the school system. This is where they're getting their food kind of all year long, and just the fact that we're just acknowledging that and rolling it out through the summer has been a huge gift. So some things going on around town this weekend. You want to tell us about some of those? Yeah,
sure. So we out in Keel Farms, which is out in like the Plant City area, from May 31st till August 2nd. From 11 to 5, there is Summerfest. And so that will be on every Saturday and Sunday. So now through August 2nd. And there'll be things like water slides, bounce houses, food trucks, drinks, and lots of other family-friendly fun. If you haven't been out to Keel Farms, it's a super cute spot, and it's great for little kiddos and just the family of any age, basically. So go out and support Keel. We also will be celebrating World Oceans Day on Saturday, June 6th from 10 to 2. The Clearwater Marine Aquarium is having a free event with over 50 exhibitors from around Tampa Bay and the nation that are committed to protecting our oceans and in our environment. And, you know, if you're in Florida, if you're in Tampa, it's nice and warm. It's a good time to go out and be in the ocean. And it's so, when you're out there, it just feels so good. And, you know, we got to make sure that we protect the ocean and keep it clean and support these exhibitors.
It's a really nice aquarium over there too.
Yeah, I haven't been, but I would love to go.
You haven't been over there?
No, I've been to the Tampa one.
Yeah.
And I actually think so. I have a 13-month-old, and as we look for things to do inside in the summer, I think the aquarium will be high on our list because
it's such a nice
it's engaging,
place.
It's cool, it's dark, and it's for the Tampa one's very close to my house, so we can bike there. Yeah.
True.
Some other fun things going on. Beetlejuice the musical.
Nice.
So that'll be at the Strass Center for Performing Arts. It opens on Tuesday, June 9th, and it wraps up on Sunday, June 14th. I really wish these shows were here longer. I feel like when I find out about them, they're already leaving.
Yep.
And so it is $80 or $79 per person. You know, if you're not familiar, it's based on Tim Burton's beloved film. It's a musical that tells the story of Lydia Dietz, a strange and unusual teenager whose whole life changes when she meets a recently deceased couple with a demon with a thing for stripes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, of course. With a thing for stripes. Yeah.
That's so
and
good.
Then this last one I'm really excited to plug, and I'm really bummed out that I can't go, but Steal the Story Please is a documentary about Democracy Now!, which is a syndicated radio show that has been on the air for I think 30 years.
Yep.
And so Amy Goodman is she's just one of the GOATs, the greatest of all time. And so on WMNF, local radio station here in Tampa, they play Democracy Now! Every weekday morning at 9:00. It's where I get most of my news from. And Amy is going to come and do a question and answer with the audience. That's going to be at the Sunray, which is up at the University Mall area. And so if you want to do the film and the Q&A, then it's $15 unless you are a senior or a student, and then it is $10. And if you want to do the meet and greet with Amy, then it is $100, and a portion of the proceeds will actually go to support WMNF. Amy Goodman is just incredible reporter, incredible investigator. She is worth seeing. And then I believe that the Q&A will be moderated by Ray Roa, who is a common, he's the co-owner of Creative Loafing.
He is a co-owner. I've known his name with them forever as like a writer.
I think that they, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that him and a few other workers bought it.
I didn't know that.
And so now it's worker owned.
I've known his name associated with it for forever.
Yeah. So Ray Roa has been a long time, I think, editor at Creative Loafing, and now I think he's editor and co-owner. And then he also has a show on WMNF on Friday mornings at 11:00. That's worth listening to as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, like always, guys, we'll be out at Harvest Hope Park this morning from 10:30 to 11:30, sharing groceries with the Kinship Mobile Free Market. We'll also have a crew at the Ybor Street Community Garden from 3 till 5.
Yeah. And as always, please engage and share the show with friends. Let's get the word out.
If you want to share this kind of link directly to the video podcast, it's tampatalk.xyz. It'll go directly to the Spotify link where you can watch and listen. And if you want this to come into your inbox every Friday morning at 6 a.m. with kind of a link to all the news stories we've talked about, maybe a few other things, and a link to the podcast as well, you can subscribe at wordonthestreets.xyz.
All right. Well, that's what we're talking about, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And until next time.
Y'all be good.